All right, my sweets, our reading focus this week is text features. What does that mean, text features, right? Well, the definition is it's components or parts of a story. So components is the same thing as parts. So parts of a story or an article that are not the main body of the text. Okay, so here are some examples of that, and I'm going to go through each and every one of these more in detail when I get to the slides. So I'm just going to read them off right now. Table of contents, photographs, captions, labels, diagrams, maps, timeline, close up, bold print, headings, subheadings, electronic menu, charts and graphs, glossary, index, and icons. So that is what we're going to learn about today, all those different text features. I'm going to switch my screen. First up is table of contents. The table of contents shows the heading and the page number it can be found on. So the book here is a book about frogs. And here are the different headings. So each chapter. Chapter 1, the heading is going to be about origins. That's going to be found on page 3. The second chapter is about habitat. That will be found on page 7. The third chapter is about diet. That will be found on page 10. And then the fourth chapter is life cycle, and that will be found on page 12. You will normally find the table of contents in the beginning of a book or an article. Photograph. We saw a lot of cool photographs in our Shark Read Out Loud this week. So photograph is a picture taken with a camera that shows how things look in real life. So sometimes in stories they will put photographs to give you a real life look of what these things are, like this week with sharks. Captions. So we also saw a lot of captions in our Read Out Loud this week. The words near a picture that explains what it is or is about. So here is the picture is, you see the little frog, right? Well, the caption here is gonna explain it. This is a tiny frog sitting on a bicycle seat. That is what captions means. Label. So labels mean words that tell you about a specific part of a picture or a diagram. So here's a telescope, and these are the different parts of the telescope, and they have arrows pointing to the different parts. So we have the eyepiece up here, the tube, the primary mirror, and the counterweight. So that is labeling the different parts of a telescope. A diagram. So a diagram is a little bit different. It's a drawing that shows the parts of something. So here is a rocket ship, a spaceship, and here is the external tank here. And this is showing the solid rocket boosters, and the orbiter is right here. So that's what a diagram is. Maps. You might find pictures. Maps are pictures that show the location of the topic being discussed. So you might find these a lot in history articles or history books. And here is a map here showing the different locations in the USA. Timeline. All right. So timelines is a chart that shows events in the order that it happened. So the events here are, this is about the modern solar system discovery. So it's showing us a timeline. In the 14th century, Copernicus determines that Earth is also a planet that orbits the sun. So that was the 14th century. They're giving us the century it is in. In the 18th century, so this is what happened next after that, scientists discover Uranus. And then in the 19th century, scientists discover Neptune. And in the 20th century, scientists discover Pluto. So that's a timeline of modern solar system discoveries. Close up. What does that mean? A picture or illustration that zooms in to show a closer view of an object. And they did that in our shark story this week. They did a close-up of the shark's skin and then described what the picture was about with a caption underneath it. So this looks like it's a zoom, a close-up of the moon. Close-up picture. Bold print, and we've discussed this a lot this year, what bold print means. Bold print means words that are written with thick, heavy lines, and it indicates something of importance. So we know that these words are really important words throughout the story that we need to understand. So the human body is made up of many different parts. The skeleton, that's in bold, so that's an important term that we should know, is made of all the bones in the body and gives the body its shape. Muscles, here we go, so this is another bold print, really important term, and tendons make the body's bones move. The skin covers all the body's bones, muscles, and organs. Heading. So this can sometimes become confusing, so this is a good one to understand. The title at the top of a page or at the beginning of a new section. Okay, so it's the title, the top of a page, or the beginning of a new section. This helps the reader know what the section or page will be about. So here, this is the heading of this story, Life on the ISS. And so that is on the top of this section. And then we're going to talk about subheadings. Subheadings divide the text into sections. So the title was Life on the ISS, and the subheadings are here. So this tells the main idea of each section. It's printed in bold or large font, and it helps the reader locate information in the text. So if you had a question and they asked you what was morning routine about, you could find it in the subheading. Go, okay, this is morning routine. I'm going to read this and figure out what morning routine was about. Or eating in space. What was that about? Electronic menu. So if you're reading something online, you might come in contact with something called an electronic menu. And this is a list of things you can choose from on the computer. So this is the space place, and under planets, this is the electronic menu for it. So it's talking about all the different planets. And then there's also some, so if you clicked onto Pluto, you could click on Pluto's statistics, its history, pictures, or you could also do a quiz. Charts and graphs. So shows information in a visual way so that readers can understand it better. And I know second grade, you guys have been working with graphs in math. So this is very similar to that. National frog extinction threat. So here it's giving us a graph. Okay, this is a pie graph. And each color represents something different. So it looks like this light green here shows that the extinction threat of frogs, and then the blue is near threat right here. So what percentage is that? Oops. The yellow is insufficient data, so they couldn't find data for it. And then this big green piece means that frogs are there's no threat to frogs for extinction. Glossary. You will find the glossary more at the end of a book normally. Glossary is the alphabetically list new or important words and tells what they mean. So here are all the new and important words that you would find throughout the story. And they would have a definition of what that means. So for instance, shin. Shin means, the definition for that is the front of the leg bone that runs from the knee to the ankle. So the glossary is a really good place to go if you aren't sure what a word is in a story or a book or an article. The glossary will help you better understand it by giving you a definition for it. And the index. Index is alphabetically listing of the terms, events, key names, and topics with page numbers. Okay? Readers use the index to help find information they're looking for. So if you needed to find amphibians, you know amphibians will start with the amphibians. So you're going to go to the A section and go, okay, amphibians, and I know that this is going to be on pages. This is the page numbers. Okay, so amphibians will be on page 1 through 3. They'll also talk about amphibians on page 14 and 27. Maybe tadpoles, right? You're like, oh, I want to read about tadpoles. Well, right? Tadpoles. So that starts with the T. We would look under T, and it says tadpoles, and that's going to be on page 17. And the last slide here, icons. What does icons mean? It means small graphics, like pictures or symbols, that stand for a website, maybe an app, or another electronic purpose. So you guys might recognize some of these when you are on your computer, like Facebook. You might recognize that. Maybe your parents use Facebook. A printer. This means that this is like a printer symbol. Okay, this means that there's volume. Okay, a recording. Instagram. Your parents probably might have Instagram. Okay, this is like a disc. That means to save something. Okay, and so these are just different icons that you might also see in a book or an article. All right, that was all about text features.